Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jordan Chariton, Status Coup on a Wednesday evening. It is January 23rd, 2019, and woo! A lot of news. And, I always like to keep it real. I always like to keep it real with the audience. So, I'm a little, what would you say, stressed. I'm a little stressed out. Uh, there's not enough hours in the day, frankly. There's not enough hours in the day. And I got two jobs. One is being a reporter, and one is being a business person. And both at the same time, very difficult. So I'm trying very, very hard to follow the news and go live every day and do other things that I need to do while at the same time trying to grow the business, attract funding, those kinds of things. So apologies if I am not live every single day the last few weeks. There's been a lot of things going on in the background, so hope you understand. You know the drill. You know the drill. We have an important checklist here. 117 people are watching right now, but only 63 likes. So what the hell are you doing? Smash that like button. Smash it into smithereens. Smash it like it's Donald Trump saying a wall is more important than people being able to put food on the table. Smash it like it's Nancy Pelosi saying pay as you go. Smash it like it's the U.S. government doing another regime change, this time in Venezuela. Smash it like it's George W. Bush declaring mission accomplished. Smash it like it's the Michigan government saying Flint's water is safe. Smash it, smash it, smash it, smash it into little smithereens. Thank you. Just smashed it, Jordan. Become a Status Coup member. Oh my God, we're almost at 150 members of Status Coup through statuscoup.com/join. Can we get those 2 extra members while I'm live? Can we get more than 2? You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for Status Coup. The more members we have, the easier time we will have going out in the field and reporting, which I'm going to have an update about today. So, you know the drill. statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member as low as $5 a month, or $10 a month, or $20 a month, or annually $147 a year. We have, like I said, 148 members, and the more we grow there, the more revenue that comes in, the more we'll be in the field. So what do you spend $5 on a day? Think about it. What do you spend $10 on a week? What do you spend $20 on a month? Real in-the-field reporting costs money. So think about how much you want it and how much you need it, because I am here to give it to you. Ty wants to give it to you, but we can't grow money out of our behinds. We need to ask you, the audience. This is not a donation. This is a subscription to building a media revolution. statuscoup.com/join. Follow us at Status Coup on Twitter. I'm at Jordan Chariton. Subscribe to our podcast, bit.ly/Status Coup podcast, and join our email list at statuscoup.com. You'll type it in, and the pop-up will come up and enter your email. That's another way we're going to grow. Thank you for the $2.99 in the super chat. Hope the Ben & Jerry deal is moving along well. I wish there was a Ben & Jerry deal. I really do. And by the way, thank you, Mr. House, who left $5 in the super chat before we even went live. And listen, you dirty birds out there. Super not. I'm not even going to read that statement. It's too dirty. But I did not mean Ty and I are going to do anything other than give you reporting and real journalism. Nothing more. Dirty minds in the live chat. And we're going to talk about our plans for our next reporting trip. But you know the drill. If I got to beg, I'll beg. But we're a little stuck in GoFundMe. So not deterring you from Super Chat, but definitely, if you don't mind, do GoFundMe if you want to donate, because Super Chat YouTube is taking 30% of our Super Chat funds. Not a typo. 30%. So I didn't put it in the headline of today's broadcast because YouTube would probably censor it. This is what we have to do now. We have to basically work around YouTube censorship to report the news. But there is a coup. There is a coup d'etat underway in Venezuela, sponsored by the United Corporations of America, aka the United States of America. Now, I like to keep it very real with the audience. So when I am not an expert on something, I like to say, this is not something I'm an expert on. I do not know the ins and outs of the Venezuelan government, the protests. I don't know much about Maduro. I don't know much. I have reached out to Ben Norton, who I think is a great independent journalist who's done a lot on this, to see if he could do an interview. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. If he can't do it, I'll get somebody else to explain the coup d'etat going on right now in Venezuela, as President Trump announced today that he is behind an unelected opposition leader who now is declaring himself president. Zachary Kirkpatrick, the U.S. has been trying to overthrow the government of Venezuela for decades. Well, I knew that. I'm saying I'm not an expert on the current situation. But I want to read to you, and again, I've already reached out to Ben to see if he could do an interview. So, I'll let you know when he gets back to me. This is from Ben Norton a few weeks ago, but obviously updated today. U.S. backs coup in oil-rich Venezuela. Right-wing opposition plans mass privatization and hyper-capitalism. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Because the United States was responsible for Soviet Union's downfall. And what came in the Soviet Union's downfall? Mass privatization and hyper-capitalism. Go ask the people in Russia today. How's their economy? The U.S. has effectively declared a coup in Venezuela. Trump recognized unelected right-wing opposition leader Juan Guaido as new president, who plans mass privatization and neoliberal capitalist policies. The United States has effectively declared a coup d'etat in Venezuela from abroad. Trump announced on January 23rd that the U.S. recognizes the unelected, illegitimate right-wing opposition leader Juan Guaido as the supposed new interim president of Venezuela's supposed new government. The U.S. also hinted at violence in Venezuela. During a background briefing after Trump's declaration, journalist Dan Cohen heard a U.S. official declare that if Maduro government responds with any violence, Maduro being the actual elected leader in Venezuela, if Maduro responds with any violence, quote, they have no immediate future, they have no immediate livelihood, one way or another, they have their days counted. Trump administration officials added, quote, when we say all our options are on the table, all our options are on the table. Let's hope Maduro and his cronies see the magnitude of the message. Oh, gotta love Donald Trump talking about cronyism. And excuse me, let me just put this story in the live chat so you could read along if you'd like. Canada's Liberal government, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Brazil's newly elected far-right leader Jair Bolsonaro, and the overtly pro-U.S. Organization of American States and its Secretary General Luis Almagro have joined Trump in endorsing this coup in Venezuela. These governments and an obscene corporate media have referred to Venezuela's actual president, Nicolas Maduro, as an authoritarian dictator. What they failed to mention is that Venezuela still has regular elections, but the U.S.-backed right-wing opposition, which is notoriously disunited and incompetent, has chosen to boycott these elections, preferring to call for foreign-backed military coups instead. One of the only elected officials in the U.S. who has spoken out against the coup is left-wing California Congressman Ro Khanna. Other progressives and anti-Trump U.S. politicians, including self-declared democratic socialists, have remained silent on Trump's effective declaration of a coup in Latin America. I do believe he might be referring to Bernie Sanders as well as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. While supporters of regime change in Venezuela insist this blatantly undemocratic move is necessary to defend democracy, make no mistake, the upheaval is clearly not motivated by resistance to authoritarianism. Venezuela, which has the world's largest oil reserves, has long been a target of U.S. aggression. That's what Zachary Kirkpatrick was saying in the super chat. In 2002, the U.S. supported a military coup that briefly ousted democratically elected President Hugo Chavez and replaced him with the right-wing oligarch Pedro Carmona. U.S. intervention, including crippling economic sanctions, has only continued since. So I'm not going to read the rest because you get the drill. And again, I've reached out to Benjamin Norton to see if he could do an interview on this, because this is definitely his expertise. I'll also reach out to Abby Martin, but who has done great reporting in Venezuela at grave risk to her and her crew. So far, I've been unsuccessful in getting an interview with her, but all I can do is keep asking kindly, kindly, kindly. So I have many thoughts on this. And, Star Trekking. I came, I saw, and I liked. That is a great slogan. I came, I saw, and I liked. I'm going to write that down. Thank you for liking. We got almost 200 viewers, but only 125 likes. So there's 75 of you that need a good spanking, if you know what I'm saying. Well, I'm not going to actually spank you through the internet, but just like the live stream. Is that so much to ask? Reminder, GoFundMe. So, I find it so remarkable that for the last three, there's the bigger picture of U.S. coup and regime change. We've done this in Iran with Mossadegh in the 1950s. We've tried to do this in Cuba. We've done this in many countries where the United States, we don't like this dictator because he's not friendly to our business interests. They're not giving us all the oil that we so choose. They're not bending over for the United States of America. So we're going to prop up the opposition, which is for democracy. The only problem is the opposition isn't for democracy. The opposition is just as brutal, just as vile, just as corrupt as the very leaders we are toppling. The only difference is the very leaders we are toppling, whether they are brutal dictators or whether they're great, are democratically elected leaders. But the United States of America likes to pretend, we're just doing this for human rights. We're getting rid of Maduro because he's a brutal dictator, and us, the United States, the North Star of humanity, is there to cheerlead a unelected, illegal leader. So when you hear, for the last 3 years, the corporate media military industrial complex, say it with me, the corporate media military industrial complex, when you hear them screaming, duck, get under your desk, the Russian trolls are coming for our democracy, right? When you hear them screaming and hollering about our holy democracy is under attack because there's fake Facebook pages on Russia, and the Russians are hacking Hillary Clinton's crown prince, John Podesta, and the Russians are coming for, your McDonald's and your Taco Bell and your Sunday football, and the Russians are behind Black Lives Matter and Standing Rock and Fight for 15 and, Bernie Sanders' underwear choices. Excuse me, Apotheos? That's not Status Quo's new slogan. Don't start the rumor. Don't start the rumor mill. When you hear this propaganda about Russia, don't get me wrong. All right, Russia, they tried to infiltrate the election. They put out fake Facebook pages. I don't endorse that. No good. But when you hear the frauds in the media, the frauds in Congress, including on the Democratic side, they're so concerned about democracy. How much are you hearing a loud chorus of people screaming that the United States is essentially, when the United States approves a coup d'etat, that's the final step to a coup d'etat. So Trump sitting there playing kingmaker and Mike Pence doing a video endorsing this coup d'etat in Venezuela means the coup d'etat is going to be complete. So on one hand, we're so worried about a foreign government interfering in our elections and the corporate media. This is the gravest threat to democracy since the Civil War, Russia. This is the gravest threat to democracy since Watergate. This is the gravest threat to democracy since the Revolutionary War, for God's sakes. The Russian trolls. But the United States backing a coup d'etat in Venezuela? Oh, that's just Tuesday. That's just Tuesday. I mean, it's unbelievable. And as Benjamin Norton has so described, as Abby Martin has done amazing reporting in Venezuela. Honestly, I wanted to play Abby Martin's reporting from Venezuela here, but to tell you the truth, knowing this is YouTube, they kick me off if I do that. I'm just being honest. If I play Abby Martin's reporting from Venezuela here, they've already censored her and Telesur. And this channel's just finally growing. So these are the decisions we have to make in this corporate censored state. Do you play real journalism and get kicked off? Or do you play ball? Maybe when we get bigger, I will fight the machine. But right now, honestly, I'm afraid to play Abby Martin's videos here because they'll kick us off YouTube. Just like they have kicked off Empire Files. Or they censored them. I don't know if they kicked them off or whatever. But frankly, and I very much apologize if something changed before I went live. And please, if something has changed, I looked at Bernie Sanders' social media today. I haven't seen anything on this Venezuelan coup. I looked at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's social media. I haven't seen anything. Certainly haven't seen anything from Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Joe Biden. I did see something from Andrew Gillum, the one-time Florida governor's candidate, endorsing this coup d'etat. But, yes, Andy, people should check out Abby's videos, but honestly, at this point, we got to make a living here at Status Coup, so I don't want to do anything that's going to get us kicked off. But that doesn't mean I endorse what YouTube's doing. It's awful. But, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has 2.6 million views. I happen to like her a lot. Don't have a lot of, I think she's done great so far, but we got to call out progressives too if they're not doing the right thing. This is why the United States of America has honestly become worse than the British Empire we were born on. Us fighting the British to be free? Well, are we really much better than the British oppressors that this country was born on? So, this is not about whether Maduro is a brutal dictator or not. That's irrelevant to this discussion. Just because somebody is a brutal dictator doesn't mean the United States of America has a role or a right to topple the legal elected leader in that country. And that doesn't mean I'm not sympathetic if there is a brutal dictator in power in Venezuela or anywhere else. But the United States does not have the right to a coup d'etat. Elections are how you get rid of awful, awful leaders. Now, it's a different story if this was Adolf Hitler. And this was, a man taking millions and millions of people to camps to die. But we're not talking about that. You're right, Hank. It's oil, baby. Biggest oil reserve in the world. And Trump has made it absolutely clear this is the United States of oil. This is the United Corporations of America and the United States of oil. That's it. Kelly Elaine, $10 in the super chat. Kelly, you are my all-star, Kelly. She's been GoFundMe. Kelly Elaine, it's almost every day. No matter what, even if it's $5, she contributes to our GoFundMe. So Kelly, you are, so far, the Status Coup member of the year. I just made that up. So thank you, Kelly. And by the way, we just got a whole delivery of more Status Coup shirts. We're waiting now for the hats to come because we ordered them separately. So once the hats come, we have a lot of stuff to send out to you wonderful GoFundMe donors. We've already sent out, I think, 11 to 15 of you. Now we got another 20 to 30 to go. So keep it coming. GoFundMe link is right there, and we'll talk about membership in a little bit. So, where is the progressive movement? Frankly, keeping it real, Bernard Sanders, where the hell are you, Bernard? If you want to lead if you want to run for president again, which you're going to, you should be one of the leading people speaking out against this regime change. The United States cannot sit there hollering against the evil Russian boogeyman and threats to our democracy, and Trump is a fascist and Trump is awful and we need to renormalize society in America and get rid of Trump. But we turn a blind eye to a coup d'etat in Venezuela so we could get their oil? You cannot be a progressive and do that. What _ Jordan, are you turning on AOC now? Excuse me, what Ver? Do not start the rumorville. I am offering you some nuance. So as a journalist, I'm not going to be pom-poms and have pom-poms in my hand for anybody, including Bernie Sanders. So if they're doing right, you'll hear it from me. If they're doing wrong, you'll hear it from me. And I went live at 5 p.m. Eastern. Unless I missed it, I did not see anything from Bernie or Ocasio-Cortez today on this. So, not going to turn a blind eye. Not going to turn a blind eye. So, maybe they're waiting to see how things play out, but, what do you need to see? There's literally a coup underway. You have the the unelected opposition leader declaring himself president. The U.S., Justin Trudeau, who, besides the good looks, is kind of equal, not so great. Go ask the people in Canada how they feel about Justin Trudeau. Ramming fracked gas pipelines through Native American reservations in British Columbia, in addition to other terrible things he's been doing. Mike S. I'm a Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez supporter, but I'm a leftist first. It's not mutually exclusive. You could be a supporter of them and also call them out. Jordan, what you're saying confuses me. You're against fracking, so why are you supporting your leader? Which leader? Bernie is against fracking. He has been for a long time. So what are you talking about, Cheryl? So what really is a problem here is we always say about the Republican Party doesn't care about anything until it affects them, right? So Rex Tillerson, he's pro-fracking until a frack gas pipeline was coming near his house. Then he joined a lawsuit to stop it. This was Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Conservatives, they don't care about school shootings until one of their kids gets shot up in a school. So we know this about Republicans. But the Democratic Party, what is this? You're railing about Trump, who's awful, and we can't normalize Trump, and he's the next coming of the Third Reich, and he's awful and terrible, and we need to bring back democracy. Hashtag President Pelosi, we were seeing last week. Don't get me wrong, I think Trump is awful, but you can't, in one breath, be hollering and hooting about the Russian boogeyman and democracy, and then just let regime change after regime change. And you know what? Right now, the only Democrat speaking out against this is Ro Khanna. In fairness, I didn't look at Tulsi Gabbard today. Based on her worldview, my assumption is she's also against this coup d'etat in Venezuela. But there's another element here. See, the corporate media is essentially the stenographers for the government. So the government creates the narrative. And the corporate media, it's like a relay. Government creates the narrative, corporate media carries their water. But who is the United States to say how the Venezuelan people feel? Because I saw a tweet from an actual Venezuelan reporter today that the actual government, the governmental body that this unelected leader that just declared himself president, so he is the president of the governmental body, like their Congress. I might be explaining it wrong, but basically this unelected leader who has now declared himself president with the United States backing, he is part of a body that's disapproval rate is at 70%. So, yes, there's protests against Maduro, but the United States and this corporate narrative that all of Venezuela wants Maduro out just isn't true. And that's not someone defending Maduro. That's just defending democracy and elections. It's very troubling. It's very troubling. Very troubling. So I'll keep you updated. Like I said, I've reached out to Benjamin Norton, who does great work on this. If I don't get him, I'll find somebody else. And also, I don't want to get your hopes up. I don't want to get your hopes up, but I like to tell you what's going on behind the scenes. I did get a response today from one Ralph Nader about a potential interview. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I did not receive a no. So Ralph Nader might be on Status Coup in the near future. And I want to thank, we got a few GoFundMe donations, so let me put the link in one more time. Thank you to Andrea, donated $30 to our GoFundMe. She says, we need Status Coup for our sanity in these crazy bad times. I couldn't agree more, because I'm going insane in these crazy bad times. Denise, $20. Thank you, Denise. We need honest, independent journalists, and I love the integrity of this team. Thank you. Fadi donated $10. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, in 2016, when I was at the Young Turks, I used to headline videos about Hillary Clinton, Extreme Makeover Hillary Clinton Edition, because it's always an extreme makeover with these politicians. It's Extreme Makeover Hillary Clinton Edition, Extreme Makeover Beto O'Rourke, Extreme Makeover Kirsten Gillibrand, Extreme Makeover Kamala Harris. It's all like they throw these human beings in a machine, let's say a time machine. They just bounce their head around. They put together a package with a message, and then they spit them out. And then you get, messages like Stronger Together, or For the People is now Kamala Harris's message, or Kirsten Gillibrand, I'm going to fight for you as hard as I would fight for my children. So now you're seeing Joe Biden, Extreme Makeover. And it's not a good look. Not a good look, Joe. Say it ain't so, Joe. So Joe Biden, who is strongly leaning on running for president, according to CNN and some other sources, Joe Biden is now moonwalking away from his role in drafting the crime bill that is most responsible for the mass incarceration of and colonization of this country. Former Vice President Joe Biden said in remarks at a Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast Monday that he has made mistakes when it comes to criminal justice issues, an area of his career that could be scrutinized if he launches a 2020 presidential bid in a competitive Democratic field. Yeah, you have made mistakes, not just in criminal justice. NAFTA, the Iraq War, Glass-Steagall, welfare reform, Patriot Act. I mean, I could go on. Quote, I've been in this fight for a long time. It goes not just to voting rights. It goes to the criminal justice system, Biden said at the National Action Network's Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast. Quote, I haven't always been right. I know we haven't always gotten things right, but I have always tried. Biden made no mention of his support for a 1994 crime bill that set strict sentencing standards and critics have argued led to an era of mass incarceration. See, this is what CNN has done. Critics have argued. No, critics haven't argued. Look at the data, you fucking idiots. It has led to an era of mass incarceration. It's not like, oh, but this side says this and that side says this. Go to South Carolina. Go to these states that have mass huge prisons since then with nonviolent offenders. But he also highlighted his later work with President Barack Obama to address the sentencing disparity for crack versus powdered cocaine. Quote, it was a big mistake when it was made, he said. We thought we were told by the experts that crack, you never go back. It was somehow fundamentally different. It's not different, but it's trapped an entire generation. The former vice president also argued that white Americans must acknowledge systematic racism still exists. Quote, there's something we have to admit. Not you, we, white America, has to admit there's still a systematic racism and it goes almost unnoticed by so many of us. So this is Joe Biden, version 2019. Let me show you Joe Biden, version 2016. Let's take a look at what Uncle Joe had to say in 2016 when asked about his role in the crime bill.
medicines compared to Xyzal?
Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill." You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. And in fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
And by the way, we talk about this mostly in terms of Black Lives Matter. Black lives really do matter. But the problem is institutional racism in America. That's the overarching problem that still exists. And we should be talking about it. And you look at it, the legacy of racism in housing, jobs, and so on. So, but having said that, if you take a look at the crime bill, of the money in the crime bill, the vast majority went to reducing sentences, diverting people from going to jail for drug offenses into what I came up with, drug courts, providing for boot camps instead of sending people to prison so you didn't need to learn whatever the bad thing that got you there in the first place. Put 100,000 cops in the street. When community policing was working, neighborhoods were not only safer, but they were more harmonious. And when the reason why the cops originally opposed my 100,000 cops from this community policing piece is because it's high intensive and it means they got to get out of their cars. So they literally got out of their cars and learned who owned the local drugstore, the local neighborhood bar, whatever. And they were engaged in the neighborhood, which built confidence so that the woman, the African-American woman living in a corner alone where the drug deal's going down in front of her house knows she literally used to have your phone number as a cop. She'd call you and say, "John, they're out in front of my house, but you're not giving me away, right, John?"
So you don't need to hear any more of this bullshit. Apparently Joe Biden is missing the memo that you can't really separate institutional racism with imprisoning tens of thousands of black men for no fucking reason. That's what I would call, say it with me, audience, what would you call that? When Joe Biden says institutional racism and the crime bill are two separate things, I would call what Joe Biden was exercising. Does anybody want to take a stab before I say it? What would you call that? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. So we got hypocrite via institutional racism. Yes, for the win. Artificial amorphous men. How do you not see that the crime bill was institutional racism? And by the way, if we're keeping it real, Kimberly S., that was in 2016 when he said that. 2016 he said this. No, not at all. I'm not worried about the crime bill. And in fairness, Bernie Sanders voted for the crime bill. But at least when Bernie Sanders voted for the crime bill, he was on the floor. He was on the floor. Do you get a t-shirt, Jordan? I'll think about it. He was on the floor saying, I am voting for this as a compromise because it has a lot of good things in there as far as, I believe, what's that bill for women? Violence Against Women Act. So Bernie Sanders was sounding the alarm, even though he voted for it, was sounding the alarm at the time about mass incarceration, and this bill would create mass incarceration. He still voted for it, so bad on Bernie, to tell you the truth. But at least he recognized what this was going to do. Joe Biden drafted it. Joe Biden is sitting there in 2016, 2 years ago. Oh, no, not at all. And we have to understand, the problem wasn't the crime bill. The problem is institutional racism. Well, what do you call rounding up black men for weed, cocaine, way more than white men or white people? What would you call that? What's it, specialty racism, not institutional? I mean, it's obscene. the tone deafness, the ignorance. Totally insane. So, Joe Biden can say whatever he wants. I don't expect the corporate media to challenge him on this. If he runs, he'll be on debate stages. They might ask him once or twice, but don't expect Anderson Cooper to exactly challenge Joe Biden on institutional racism and how he squares away what he did with the crime bill versus institutional racism. But I will if he runs. But gonna need funding to get out there on the road to cover this. Gonna need funding. Go. Gonna need funding to get out there on the road and cover the Joe Biden. You think the Donna Brazil exchange was something? You wait till I get in front of Joe Biden. Not threatening Joe or the FBI. Thank you, Matty Perry, $4.99 in the super chat. Biden lost whatever progressive values he had when he first ran for president in the 80s. I don't know what progressive values Joe Biden ever had because, taking the Amtrak to work doesn't make you a progressive. Sorry. Amtrak Joe, he's with the working people. Amtrak Joe, they say Joe can beat Donald Trump and win in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania. He voted for NAFTA. He voted to weaken labor unions. So get out of here. Get out of here, Joe. Say it ain't so, Joe. Anthony Reyes. Biden's son died, so everyone has to bite their tongue when talking bad about it. I'm not biting my fucking tongue. Here's my tongue. I feel bad that your son died. Sorry. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but you're still a fake Republican. You're a Republican. So your family loss has nothing to do. You know how many people lost their loved ones in Iraq because of people like Joe Biden? You know how many families lost their loved ones to prison because of Joe Biden? Sorry. One has nothing to do with the other. So, selective incarceration management. Arya Stark, my favorite Game of Thrones candidate. And by the way, folks, we're closing in on 300 viewers, but we only have 181 likes. So if we had 300 likes, the audience would go up to 400. So what do I have to do here? Do I have to put a tattoo on my chest with a like? Is that what I have to do to get you to like the live stream? Smash the like button. Smash it like it's Joe Biden saying there's a difference between institutional racism and the crime bill. Smash it like it's Hillary Clinton calling you a super predator. Smash it like it's George W. Bush landing with the chopper. Mission accomplished. Smash it like it's your life is on the line because it is. YouTube doesn't want you to see this. Rob, hey Jordan, I sent you a super chat. Oh boy, did I miss it, Rob? Hold on. Things are moving fast, Rob. Things are moving fast. I don't see your super chat, Rob. I don't see it. Oh, you do. You do. $4.99 from Rob. Thank you very much. What's more troubling is the people not outraged that our government wants to illegally overthrow a government. Hope my coffee stays warm. I do too. What's more troubling to me, Rob, is, frankly, Ocasio-Cortez has 2.6 million Twitter followers. Bernie has way more between Twitter and Facebook. I guarantee you the majority of this country today has not a clue that the United States is basically overthrowing or helping the overthrow of Venezuela. Guarantee you the majority of Americans today have more knowledge of something Cardi B said than the overthrow of the Venezuelan government. So it's up to the progressives who know how to get things moving on social media, know how to wake people up to get that done. But I totally agree with you, Rob. What? _Ver. Jordan, I hope you did not get angry on my last opinion on AOC. What are you talking about? Let me give you guys a public service announcement for Status Coup. Because I've seen a lot of talk in the live chat and like people disagreeing and I'm worried that we're disagreeing and are you mad at me and this and that. I don't want an audience that agrees with me 24/7. That's boring as hell. We're not sycophants here. You don't have to agree with me on everything, and I'm not going to agree with you on everything. If you want to go hear your views and just basically be like a dog, with his owner, go watch Fox News. Or MSNBC if you're a neoliberal idiot. We're not sheep. Thank you, Paul. So, what's everybody getting their feathers in a twist? I don't even think that makes sense. You don't have to agree with me on everything, and I would never be mad at you, Watt_Bear. Smash it like it's CNN giving Kamala Harris an exclusive town hall. Yeah, when's the last time CNN gave Bernie Sanders or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez an exclusive town hall? Oh, wait. CNN and MSNBC did give Bernie Sanders exclusive town halls only after he became wildly popular and they thought they could cash in on his viewers and voters. You don't frack oil, you frack natural gas. I know. So, Jordan, just know you and Abby Miller have been an inspiration for me while I take my journalism classes. Abby Miller was actually a young lady in my high school that I had a crush on. Abby Martin, I think, is who you're referring to, and she's an inspiration to me too. Kyle Alexander. So, Jordan, please talk about crooked cop Kamala Harris's town hall and her donor ties to CNN. Hey, Mia Lovely, where you been? I've done like 25 videos on Kamala Harris and her crooked record. Where you been? Just search the channel. Plenty of videos. I'll cover what she says in her little town hall. I'm sure it will be, wonderful. And I'm sure CNN is going to really take it to her and challenge her. And I know that's racist and sexist of me. So, what are you going to do? So, before I get to the next story, because it's again about Joe Biden. It's about Joe Biden again. Before I get to the next story, a little public service announcement. Ty and I are discussing the next trip we're going to take. Honestly, it really, at this point, is up to Ty to see how he's feeling. He's going to the doctor today for his neck. If you don't know, he's been having really bad neck and shoulder pain because of a pinched nerve in his neck. So we are in discussions. I want to go on the road. I would like to cover multiple stories. The first story I want to cover is the 15,000 General Motors workers that have been laid off. If you remember that story, General Motors, after getting millions and millions for the federal government as a bailout, then thanked everybody for their bailout, and then the profits they made after the bailout, they thanked them by laying off 15,000 of their workers. So it is very, 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 very important to keep this news in the headlines, because these are real people, and this is the greed that has permeated this country for years. So I'm talking to Ty about hitting the road to cover that. We might cover a few other stories in the vicinity of Ohio, Michigan, and some other states. So we're at 148 paid members. 148 paid members for Status Coup. We got to get that number up. Status Coup is going to live or die based on our paid membership. Of course, we're going to look for funding in other areas too, but our recurring monthly and now annual revenue through our membership program is how we're going to get off the ground. So I definitely encourage you, if you want to see us in the field more often, because we haven't been in the field recently, not just the GoFundMe, which the link is in the description here. I'll put it in the chat room one more time, the GoFundMe, but how you're going to support real independent media as well as get all the bonus behind the scenes content that we give members is statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Again, 148 paid members. Think of how much more we could go in the field to cover important stories. Think about how many stories we could break if we have the revenue for putting in freedom of information requests. If we have the revenue to get out in the field. Let me tell you something. You have a much, much, much greater chance of breaking news if you're in the field talking directly to residents, to activists, to local politicians. That's where you dig up dirt, not sitting in your apartment on your computer. I mean, you can do it that way, but how I've broken the majority of stories I've broken is when I'm in the field establishing sources, establishing relationships, and learning where the bodies are buried. So think about what you spend $5 on a day, or $10 on a week, or $20 on a month, or $147 a year. We have an annual membership now that will save you $93 overall if you do annual versus the $20 a month level. It's so important that we continue to build our membership, because it's not like a charity. You're getting great bonus content, everything from behind the scenes videos to behind the scenes footage from our in the field reporting. We're going to be doing monthly video calls, which I still have to set up for this month, and many other things. So I hope you all will consider it. Again, statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. Everything moves at different rates. So, we were doing all at once. We were getting, 10 to 15 new members for 1 week, and now we're getting like 1 or 2. So let's pick it back up to get more people signing up per day, because that is honestly how we're going to grow. And that's also how we're going to get larger funding, when we could show them, hey, we have X amount of members. Between Patreon and membership on our website, we're almost at 500 combined. So really need to keep growing that. That is the long-term business model. So we don't take meetings with corporate plutocrats, and we don't take meetings with anyone other than you. I don't want to be listening or talking to anyone other than the audience about Status Coup, the stories we will cover, how we'll cover it. I'm not answering to anyone but you. Period. End of story. So, statuscoup.com/join. But, unfortunately, we're not done with Joe Biden today. We're not done with Joe Biden. Hold on 1 second. Joe Biden, say it ain't so, Joe, and Joe Biden, who's been railing about Trump, and we need to bring back the Democratic leaders. We need to have a Democratic president. The Republican Party is awful and awful and awful. Well, Joe Biden apparently during the midterms, it's got $200,000 for a speech to basically praise a Republican over his Democratic opponent. Does that sound surprising to you? This from the New York Times, and I was very shocked. Very shocked to hear this. Biden's paid speech bioed the GOP in Midwest battleground. Joseph Biden swept into Benton Harbor, Michigan 3 weeks ago, before the November elections, in the midst of his quest to reclaim the Midwest for Democrats. He took the stage at Lake Michigan College as Representative Fred Upton, a long-serving Republican from the area, faced the toughest race of his career. But Mr. Biden was not there to denounce Mr. Upton. Instead, he was collecting $200,000 from the Economic Club of Southwestern Michigan to address a Republican-leaning audience, according to his speaking contract obtained by the New York Times and interviews with organizers. The group, a business-minded civic organization, is supported in part by an Upton Family Foundation. Oh, Joe. So Joe's getting $200,000 right before the midterms to basically kiss the ass of a Republican. Fred Upton. Mr. Biden stunned Democrats and elated Republicans by praising Mr. Upton while the lawmaker looked on from the audience. Alluding to Mr. Upton's support for a landmark medical research law, Mr. Biden called him a champion in the fight against cancer and, quote, one of the finest guys I've ever worked with. Mr. Biden's remarks, coming amid a wide-ranging discourse on American politics, quickly appeared in Republican advertising. The local Democratic Party pleaded with Mr. Biden to repair what it saw as a damaging error, to no avail. On November 6, Mr. Upton defeated the Democratic challenger by 4.5 percentage points. As Mr. Biden considers a bid for the presidency in 2020, the episode underscores his potential vulnerabilities in a fight for the Democratic nomination and raises questions about his judgment as a party leader. Mr. Biden has attempted to strike a balance since leaving office, presenting himself as a unifying statesman who could unseat President Trump while also working to amass a modest fortune of several $1 million. But Mr. Biden's appearance in Michigan plainly set his lucrative personal activities at odds with what some Democrats saw as his duty to the party, linking him with a civic group seen as tilting to the right and undermining Democrats' efforts to defeat Mr. Upton, a powerful lawmaker who in 2017 helped craft a bill to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Oh, that Affordable Care Act that Joe Biden said, remember that? This is a big fucking deal. So Joe Biden, for $200,000, you can get him to support anybody. Eric Lester, a retired physician who chaired the Democratic Party in Berrien County, Michigan during the midterms, said he viewed Mr. Biden's supportive remarks about Mr. Upton as a betrayal. Mr. Lester, who attended the speech, said he had confronted an aide to Mr. Biden in the hallway, telling him the former vice president had badly damaged the Democratic cause. Quote, "It just gives Fred Upton cover and makes it possible for him to continue to pretend to be a useful bipartisan fellow," Mr. Lester recalled saying, adding, quote, "I entered the hall with positive feelings about Mr. Biden and felt very frustrated." Joe Trippi, a Democratic strategist and veteran of several presidential campaigns, said it was an open question whether voters in the party would punish candidates they see as overly friendly or cooperative with the Republicans. He suggested that could be one of the defining pressures for Mr. Biden if he announces his candidacy. But he's a Democrat! And by the way, it's not just Biden who has basically abandoned fellow Democrats. The great white hope, Beto O'Rourke. This again from the New York Times. Beto O'Rourke refused to endorse, what was her name? One second. Gina Ortiz Jones, a history-making congressional candidate, gay, Filipino-American, and Iraq War veteran, who was hoping to turn a majority Hispanic district blue, a really special person. So Beto O'Rourke refused to endorse Miss Ortiz Jones because he did a road trip, a broadcasted road trip on the internet in 2017 with Republican Congressman Will Hurst. So Beto hasn't been too, bending over for the Democratic Party either. But what's so interesting about this? Bernie Sanders, who went out of his way, he endorsed Hillary Clinton. He went all around the country campaigning for Hillary Clinton, biting his tongue and probably giving himself ulcers in the process to have to verbally endorse someone he knows is very, very corrupt. But Bernie Sanders is attacked for the election of Donald Trump. And Bernie Sanders, he's not a team player, but he's not a Democrat, our friend Joy Reid says. Well, Joe Biden, for $200,000, was sitting there, excuse me, ladies, giving blowjobs to Republican Congressman Fred Upton right before a closely contested congressional challenge to Fred Upton. Thank you for the $2.99 in the super chat. Bernie's not a Democrat? Blatant blatant hypocrites. Yes. But what's so unreal about this is the fraudulence of it all. They don't care that Bernie's not a Democrat. They don't care that Joe Biden is doing this. They wouldn't care if Joe Biden was doing this if it didn't affect their moneyed interest. So Joe Biden doing this for $200,000, the Democratic Party, all right, well, he's not doing the right thing, but, that's just how the system works. He needs to make, $200,000. God bless you, Joe. You think Joy Reid is going to be tweeting about this and attacking Joe Biden for doing this? You think the establishment or CNN cares that Beto O'Rourke didn't endorse a gay Iraq war veteran? I mean, that's everything the Democratic Party wants. That is the demographic. A woman, gay, a veteran. I mean, that's a triple platter. That's a triple platter combo. And I don't know her politics. She might have been a good candidate, too. But the double standard, the hypocrisy, where Joe Biden, you take $200,000 to say all these nice things about a Republican and refuse to endorse the Democrat in the contest? Oh, all right, Uncle Joe. You're Uncle Joe, so it's fine. Bernie Sanders, You go around the country endorsing a woman, a candidate that you find reprehensible? Oh, but you're not a Democrat. Bernie didn't do enough. Bernie's responsible for Trump. How dare you go around the country endorsing Hillary Clinton and doing stump speeches for her and going from the east to the west to the north to the south for Hillary Clinton. How dare you do that? But wait, he did do that. He also, for the midterms, went around campaigning for, frankly, some people that I don't find the most progressive. Thank you, Carolina. $5 in the super chat. Thank you for all you do, Jordan. Thank you for watching, Carolina. So it's all bullshit. It's all hypocrisy. There's not the same standard. And frankly, Bernie Sanders has frankly done more for the Democratic Party than Nancy Pelosi has. Bernie Sanders is the only reason millions and millions of young people have awoken to even care about politics and even be potential Democratic Party voters. It's the Democratic Party screwing it up because the Democratic Party isn't giving those young people reason to vote for the Democratic Party. Anti-Trump, not enough. Trump is the Antichrist, not enough. But I got to tell you, between Joe Biden moonwalking away from, well, there's some things I would like to do. I would like a do-over for on criminal justice reform. I didn't always do the right thing. That's an understatement. Why don't you go tell all the black people in jail right now because of you, Joe Biden, and Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton. Oh, I made some mistakes as they're, facing down life in prison for nonviolent offenses. I just made some mistakes. It's like Dick Cheney or George W. Bush. Well, obviously we do some things differently. Tell the close to 1 million Iraqis who have died. And how I know the audience is getting bigger. We have way more trolls today. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, we'll have to, what does Anderson Cooper say? We'll have to keep him honest. We'll have to keep Joe Biden honest. And lastly, this evening, remember, before I get to the new topic, we do have a GoFundMe going, and we are pushing membership, so keep it coming if you can. Oh, boy, these billionaires in Davos, Davos, they have the world, super rich conference with these billionaires. Bill Gates is there, and Tony Blair is there, and Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan is there, and all these rich plutocrats are there, and these rich plutocrats who are literally destroying not just the country, the world with their greed, they're the ones there to talk about income inequality and how to just give money back to the working people. Well, these people are revolting against any viewpoint that says maybe they are responsible for the global economic inequality and misery out there. Here's one of Tony Blair. Ah, damn it, I just lost it. Hold on.
In this book, winner takes all, the charade of the global elites. Look what he just told me.
I think Davos should end. I think it should be canceled this year and should end going forward. It is a family reunion for the people who, in my view, broke the modern world.
I mean, you can't argue with that, right?
I can. Look, it's the easiest line in the world to make, by the way. I tell you what I do when I come to Davos. So later today, I'll be meeting 3 of my presidents from Africa. I don't think they broke the economic system. I'll be meeting a whole lot of people from multilateral institutions who work in the developing world. I'm here because my institute, which is a not-for-profit institute, works in some of the poorest parts of the world trying to help them. And, to be fair, the people who come here, they're discussing serious issues. So it's the easiest play in the world. Say, all these people are coming along here, the global elite and so on. And by the way, these arguments about cultural identity and nationalism, in my experience, you've got elites on either side of the argument. So, Davos, it is what it is. It's an opportunity for people to come and network on issues of importance. And, some people, may come here who are billionaires from different parts of the world, but other people come because some of the issues that they're discussing here are important.
Oh, network on important issues, Tony Blair says. Important issues. And Bill Gates, he had some thoughts on the rising populist movement.
A somewhat more critical question from Anand Giridharadas, who's written a book called Winner Take All. What do you think of the rising chorus of philanthropy's critics get right? There's people who feel, and Anand argues that for many, philanthropy is a way of not really changing the fundamental system, but a way of making us kind of feel better and perpetuating inequalities.
Well, if people think, communism works better or something, I don't know. To me, the system can constantly be tuned. And I'm a believer in an estate tax. I'm a believer in more progressive taxation. I think we have a system that works, but we can tune it to achieve more equality. Things like the earned income tax credit should be made substantially more generous. The people who suggest there's an alternate system, I'll just respectfully disagree with that. That some radically different system would both create good things and give us the wealth that we should spread in a more equal way.
So, Bill Gates is essentially equating being against unfettered capitalism, being against philanthropy as a disguise, philanthropy as a cover for a rigged economic system, as communism. That's apparently communism. By the way, Bill Gates actually owns a waste management company called Republic Services. This doesn't get a lot of attention in the corporate media because the corporate media are a bunch of stooges for the powerful, like Bill Gates. So Bill Gates happens to own a waste management company called Republic Services, and that waste management company literally has underground uranium from the Manhattan Project days at one of its landfills. So one of its landfills has leaking uranium. You want to know how I know that? In addition to an underground methane fire at a nearby landfill. So one landfill has leaking uranium. Another landfill has an underground methane fire. I was at one of those, the one with the underground methane fire. You have to wear a mask. It's so terrible, the way it smells. Children in this St. Louis neighborhood where Bill Gates owns this waste management company literally have to go outside and play with masks on. There was an HBO documentary about this called Atomic Homefront. So I don't really want to hear from Bill Gates about, which system will work. Yeah, Bill Gates does some wonderful philanthropy. He also, like Warren Buffett, owns a lot of toxic shithole companies that are destroying the planet and leaking toxic substances into the air and the water. But what's so interesting about Davos is how the overall reaction has been to the new populism, the new progressive policies being pushed by somebody like Ocasio-Cortez. The super rich at Davos are scared of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's proposals to hike taxes on the wealthy. The elite financiers attending the World Economic Forum are worried about the 70% tax rate on earnings above $10 million proposed by freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Quote, "It's scary," Scott Minerd, Global Chief Investment Officer for $265 billion Guggenheim Partners, said in an interview. Quote, "By the time we get to the presidential election, this is going to gain more momentum," said Minerd, who added that he would probably be personally impacted by it. Quote, "And I think the likelihood that a 70% tax rate or something like that becomes policy is actually very real. The billionaires and millionaires attending Davos had misgivings about Ocasio-Cortez's proposal, which she made during a recent 60 Minutes interview. A poll found that 59% of voters were in favor of the idea, and even 45% of Republicans liked it. The lawmaker has turned heads in Washington and on Wall Street with her left-wing economic rhetoric, despite only being sworn into office earlier this month. In Davos, Steven Schwartzman, the billionaire CEO of private equity giant Blackstone, they're corrupt as hell, and Republican megadonor, said sarcastically that he is wildly enthusiastic about the lawmaker's proposed tax hike. He added that, quote, the U.S. is the second most progressive tax regime in the world, meaning that tax rates climb along with higher incomes. Yeah, unfortunately, though, none of these rich people actually pay the income tax that they're taxed at, because they have very, very expensive accountants that get them down to, some of them don't pay any taxes. Not to mention the corporate giveaways. The remarks at Davos came a day after Ocasio-Cortez had even more harsh words about how the U.S. economy works. Quote, I do think a system that allows billionaires to exist when there are parts of Alabama where people are still getting ringworm because they don't have access to public health is wrong, she said on Martin Luther King Day. Ocasio-Cortez addressed this article in a tweet Tuesday. It's wild that some people are more scared of a marginal tax rate than the fact that 40% of Americans struggle to pay for at least one basic need like food or rent. Not to mention, the majority of Americans don't have enough saved for a $400 emergency. Despite the bipartisan appeal of a tax increase on the wealthy, another billionaire financier dismissed the idea's chances, saying that Democrats angling for a 2020 victory wouldn't move that far to the left. Quote, it ain't gonna happen, trust me, this billionaire said. Of course, because you've bought off the Democratic Party with the rest of your Democratic elites partying and drinking champagne and eating caviar in the Swiss Alps, in Davos. So, you know me. Ooh, I'm happy when we strike a nerve in the rich. Andrea, terrified of losing their Grey Poupon. I agree. Terrified of losing their, Rolls Royces. Or being taxed just a little more on the next yacht. They're scared. Oh, God, pity the billionaire. Pity the billionaire. You remember when Barack Obama was president, there was some billionaires who, in an email chain, comparing themselves to battered wives because Obama wanted to raise taxes, slightly? Oh, battered wife syndrome. The sociopathy. That's not a word. These are sociopaths. Some of them, psychopaths. Many of them, megalomaniacs. So let me tell you what's scary. Not knowing if you're going to have enough groceries for your children. Not knowing if you're going to be able to afford life-saving treatment for your children. Not knowing if you're going to be able to eat or pay your rent or keep a roof over your family's head. That's pretty scary. And as somebody myself who's never had that, but recently has had personally economic anxiety because I'm not making money right now, let me tell you something. There's some real scary things going on for the majority of Americans economically because of people in the Swiss Alps right now, because of these billionaires and millionaires. And I got to keep it real. I'm actually not against people becoming millionaires or billionaires. Have at it. Have at it. If you actually work hard, don't break the law. Don't pay off the politicians. If you invent something that helps humanity and you make a lot of money, God, I'm with you. I am against those people, men and women, buying off the politicians after the fact, rigging the economic system so they can hoard all of the wealth for themselves. Anthony says, word is bond, Jordan. Looking at your son and not knowing if today is the day he doesn't eat on my accord. Exactly. So these people are beyond out of touch. By the way, they could say they're scared of Ocasio-Cortez, but Ocasio-Cortez isn't the first one proposing these things. Bernie Sanders has been proposing these things all along. The only difference is Ocasio-Cortez is a different demographic, and she's galvanizing just as many people as Bernie Sanders has over the years. So what's scary to them is not Ocasio-Cortez. What's scary to them is the thought of their gravy train ending We're not even talking about ending their gravy train. You're talking about taxing. Most of them are not, most of them do make more than $10 million a year. But you know what? You're talking about taxing not the whole 10 million, just above the 10 million. And honestly, it ain't going to get to 70%. In this country, are you kidding me? We'd be lucky if it got to 50% with the Democrats in power. The Democratic Party establishment, even if they retake the White House, they're not taxing their donors at 70% above 10 million. It ain't going to happen. Over Nancy Pelosi's lifeless body. So, I like scared billionaires. But you also have to realize when billionaires feel like they're boxed into a corner, they start spending more money. So you are probably going to see these billionaires flooding the campaigns of Kamala Harris. Yeah, I'm not taking corporate PAC money. Well, look how many of these billionaires individually donate to her. And also, look, you remember the Hillary Clinton Victory Fund, which was this money laundering scheme between the DNC and Hillary Clinton and the state parties, where money was supposed to go to the state parties, but it actually went to Clinton's campaign? Don't think that's not going to happen with whoever becomes the eventual nominee. I think the Democratic Party is going to be pushing for either Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I think Beto O'Rourke is going to flame out. It's one thing to be a superstar when you're facing a human snail in Texas. But pity the billionaire. Pity the billionaire. But I say keep it up, Ocasio-Cortez. I think you're doing the wrong thing if you don't come out against this coup in Venezuela. But other than that, I don't have a lot of complaints. Watt_Ver. Jordan, are you not going to help Nomiki Khan's campaign in New York? I'm a journalist. I don't help candidates campaign. So I don't know what you mean by that. No, I'm not going to help her campaign. So before I go, I'm not going to be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Got something going on behind the scenes. If Ty's feeling well, he'll be live in my absence. We will be live this coming Sunday, trying to get some big guests for Sunday, for the Sunday Marathon, starting at noon Eastern. Remember, we're very, very actively pushing our membership program. So check out our membership. As soon as you become a member, you get access to some great behind-the-scenes content, including my videos, Ty videos, Jen's done videos. Colin, our editor, has done behind-the-scenes videos. And we're going to be offering more behind-the-scenes bonus content as the numbers grow. So we're at 148 paid members. We want to grow that, obviously, to 150 first, and then onwards. So check it out, statuscoup.com/join. We cannot cover the campaign. We cannot cover all these stories that everyone else is ignoring, including the General Motors layoffs, including the water shutoffs in Detroit, including a lot of other stories we're thinking about going in the field without you behind us. So definitely check it out, statuscoup.com/join. And I will see you tomorrow. Thursday. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people have no earthly clue what the fuck is going on. Give is right. Jerry Ross, my favorite troll. Peace out.